She's a long-time friend for so many of you. I don't know how many times she's been to Israel. She supported the Ramon Foundation on flying the Space Lab mixed-stick tubes for so many kids in Israel for so many generations. It is my great pleasure to invite to the stage Veronica la Regina. Ciao.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me here, and great pleasure to keep the call of Melody that's 1 month ago and say, look, this year we are going to have the Israel Space Week, please come. And actually, I really want to come because I think when in a place there is a problem, we should be close to the problem, not stay away from the problem. Then, unfortunately, I had other commitment, and they say, I can come only the last day. And then she said, oh, but no, the last day is just the ISU Alumni. And so it's the best part of the Israel Space Week. Why not? So I just landed this morning, and I said, okay, look, I don't want to do any presentation about orbit mechanics, and how cool is commercial, and how cool is space, or whatever. I would like to highlight one dimension that is in the three eyes of the ICU, the intercultural dimension, that is particularly fundamental, essential in this particular moment. That's why I have been lecturing for many years at ICU. I have been a resident faculty in Strasbourg and then all over the world. And I end up to be naturally that after the participant call me, hey, can you give me a help on this? I would like to do this and this and this. So in a certain way, I became a space mentor. And I said, okay, Melody, I would like to explain how much it's important to live in a different place. So basically, if you ask yourself, how many nations shape you personally, a professional, how many states do you count? Do you fit one hand? Maybe two? Or you are counting just passport? It's very interesting. So I share part of my story. I was born in a very teeny village in the south of Italy. Accidentally, I was on the coast, on the Amalfi, but I grew up on the mountain, San Rufo. It's very difficult to communicate to an international audience. San Rufo, it's very, very difficult, where actually the word does not arrive in this small village. And when you are missing something, you can imagine. And here, this is the first part of the thought, that basically how far you go is not defined where you start. This is a key point. And actually, at the beginning, I thought that identity was fixed to nation. But then when I started to move primarily for studying and then for working abroad, I basically realized that identity is negotiable. It's negotiable with the nation. In every border you change, actually, you don't change just language. You are going to understand how disagreement is expressed, how power works, how happiness is shared. So you have an enormous dimension to understand that there is a cultural map. And then I became a little bit more intellectually to say, okay, I would like to understand this dimension of intercultural dimension. That's why I strongly suggest everyone to read this book from Erin Meyer, The Cultural Map. So there are a number of dimensions where you have low context, high context. So there are nation and culture behind the nation, where there is a direct way to express a notion, and the other that they keep silent. So through my story, I learned how much powerful is silence, telling to an Italian, hey. Look, if I ask to someone and they say, do you like my shirt? If I get yes, happy, sharing. If I get no, disappointed. But if I get silence, I keep dependent because I want to hear. This is the strongest of the silence. What I learned as a European, the ethics of the slowness. We are very slow in everything, but there is an ethics behind. What I get somewhere else, I mean, for instance, We have a culture that they are very direct in giving feedback, particularly the American think that they are problem solving because they talk immediately about the problem. There are cultures that where face matters, and so if you do this direct feedback, basically you destroy collaboration because they took so personally. So this is really a way how to work internationally, how to move forward to the next, respectfully and a fair manner. This is challenging. So I would say that it's for me just now, it's just the beginning of a joke. I am Italian. I'm living in Saudi Arabia, and I talk here in Israel. So three geopolitical narratives, quite different, but so exciting. So I learned particularly during this year in Saudi Arabia, that is an interesting country, recently exploded in a growth, recently exposed to intercultural friction, because it's a country that has been not massively emigrated abroad. They don't have the needs to go abroad. Now the international community is going to be received, but the perception of another culture drastically change when you go abroad and when you receive a foreign. It's a completely different story. It's more or less how it works with the integrator and payload developer. The integrator said the rule of the home and the payload needs to be adapted. So I think I can frankly share with you that we can do an analysis, maybe before to go to sleep today, and you think about that also in space. Most of the project, they did not fail because physics of engineering. They basically failed because a meeting was not managed well. They basically failed because the message that was sent was not the message that was received. Same words, same data, different outcome. Why this happened? Well, there is a Dutch sociologist, Hosfeld, that kept me very interested to understand that actually the cultural is going through a number of dimensions where you have a highlight and the lowlight. So in terms of power, the dimension between individualism and collectivism, femininity and masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, or let's keep going. I mean, I like risk. Long-term and short-term orientation. Pessimism, optimism. This is another dimension. So we can definitely have this insight experience in one of the ISU program, because the beauty of the ISU program that you get exposure to a number of nationality and cultural so different. You are going to cry, you are going to be happy, you are going to argue, you are going to debate. It's very intense. Any program can be a master, can be an executive space course, or they call it the space program or whatever, but you really live the intercultural dimension in a, I would say, comprehensive manner, something that is not going to keep away from your life. When I was at the ICU, we always struggling, okay, what we can do better. And actually, we noticed that the survey that Melody is launching tonight, we did with a group of people that they did the program 3 years ago, and with a group of people that they just finished the program. The maturation of the experience, it was completely different. You realize some year later, you know, during the program, there is a lot of complaining. I don't like this, ICU doesn't respond, ICU, whatever. But then after 3 years, I did a great job. And the ICU did with you. So basically, it's very important to mature an intercultural dimension, particularly, you know, now we are struggling in this moment because we are talking about commercial-driven new space or whatever. On the other side, we see a lot of emphasis of national independence from technology point of view, defense, dual use. So they are really nationalists, but they want that you keep the growing the national dimension, but you expand on the market. So you have to sell to someone. This someone most probably is going to talk with another language, is going to take a decision according to other type of paradigm, other type of mindset. So this is why it's very, very important to have the opportunity to know the difference, to care about the difference, and to do. So basically act, go to the next, value what you have done, what you have getting to know, what you are going to focus for caring, and act in respect of these three steps. So at the end, I would say that if a day I go back, as I often go to San Rufo, and someone asks me how many nations shape you professionally, I would say, you know something? I know that no single nation can shape me professional, but many. Thank you.